Yeah.
Can y'all hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you done it, I guess, during the pandemic? Were y'all recording this during the pandemic?
Yeah, but we were in person mostly. Well, actually, no,
So
Joy, you say. What did we?
So y'all were breaking the rules is what you're saying. Okay.
Well,
I don't know if we put out the first episode until it was kind of over.
yeah, I want to say actually, I remember wearing a mask a couple of times in the studio.
Have you ever recorded through the Google Meeting, though?
We've done Zoom.
Yeah,
Zoom.
And I don't even know why I did Google Meeting because it was easy to click it, I guess. It was probably not.
Yeah. I hate Zoom. I like this a lot better. Just like
We did
something
it
always
just for
doesn't
you.
want to work. It's like something won't work on Zoom like every time.
Hi, everybody. This recording is going to sound a little weird because I didn't hit or unpressed record until about 30 minutes into the show. So we're going to re-record the exact same things that we recorded yesterday. Thank you for your patience and your time. Okay. Okay, I'm going to get in. So I'm going to introduce our guest. Born in the Northeast and raised in the Deep South, DJ and co-creator of the Boom Bap, our guest today is an aficionado in his areas of interest, which include hip-hop music, design, and he's also a sneaker enthusiast. Fell in love with the idea of DJing, watching artists on MTV as he was growing up, and being into hip-hop since he was like 10. He saved up to buy his first turntables his senior year of high school, developed his craft and community over the next several years, and during the pandemic, he began streaming DJ sets from his home office and built a following. Would you say office or studio?
Studio.
Yeah, his home studio.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, we couldn't have done that yesterday. I'm going to say that every time. Well, he's currently at over 11,000 followers with his near nightly live streams on Twitch. Nick Melidis, who is married to Shannon, who we also love, who owns Profile Skincare. Shout out Profile Skincare. And they have a 4-year-old son named Cruze. Welcome again to Momcult, Nick Melidis.
Good to see y'all again.
Also, Cruze is still 3. He won't be 4 until
That's
Oh.
true.
summer.
You know why I said that? Because he said he was 4, or he said he was turning 4.
Because he lied to your face.
Yeah.
You know what he's been saying? He asked me one time, maybe 9 months ago, if he could have some gum, just some like chewing gum. And I was like, I don't think so yet. You know, when you're 4 years old, you can have some gum. This was almost a year ago. And whenever he talks about being 4, he'll say, when I turn 4, I can have 2 pieces of gum. And he holds up his hand like an L. That's how he says 2. So I could have 2 pieces of gum. And his new thing now is he asked me if he could drive my car. And I said, not till he's 16. So now he's telling everybody, when I turn 16, I can drive daddy's car. And he'll go, and I like mommy's car a lot better than daddy's car.
Why does he like her car better?
I mean, it's better. It's new. It's nicer. It's more comfortable.
It's
He
the
also
truth.
just likes to troll me a little bit. So
Man, knowing when they like can chew gum is so terrifying. Like the first couple times that you let them, you're just like, I feel like I couldn't take my eyes off of her. Being like,
He
okay,
did
are
it-
you done chewing now? Is that enough? All right, go ahead and spit it out.
he did it one time because at the barber or something, they gave him a blow pop like after his haircut. And he kind of noticed, he saw me like watching him towards the end of it. And he kind of noticed there was something else. And I was like, hey, you got to give me that. This is like a year ago. And he just like instantly bit the whole piece of gum off the stick. Like he knew that it was something new. So he had like just a little second with it. I made him spit it out. But especially a big piece of like bubble gum like that from a blow pop was kind of terrifying. I know he's going to ask me like the day of his birthday because of the way that their memory is. That's going to be his birthday gift, 2 pieces of dentine.
Yesterday or the day before, Penny had a ring pop and we were in the car and Jeremy's got like his, I don't know, his parent ears were in full use because he just heard like a crunch and like whipped his head back. He was driving and she had like bit half the ring pop off. So it was just this massive chunk of the ring pop is just in her mouth now. And he was like, Penny, he did the thing where you like he was scared. And so him being scared made her scared. And she's so sensitive. And so then she's just in the car seat, just like,
Oh no.
crying because she doesn't understand what just happened. I had to go like sit back in the back seat with her to calm her
Calm her down.
Like you aren't in trouble. We don't want you to choke. We're just trying to keep you alive, bro. Just let us keep you alive.
That's like, I don't know how to explain like the angriest, or like my instant response to fear is anger. And I don't know that that's logical, but I feel like that's what y'all are saying too. It's crazy. Yeah. Or like, it looks like anger, but it's like,
right. Yeah. Well, and Nick, what you were saying earlier about, like they're at that, like that 2 and 3, but like when they're doing something that they're not supposed to be doing, and maybe they don't know it yet, but you do, and you have to like, as if you're like hunting prey, you have to be like, right, oh, what you got there? Like, just be like super casual, because if you let them know, like you said, they'll just, you know, like let's say you walk in and your kid's holding something sharp, you can't just be like, hey, you need to give me that, because their response is going to be like, they're going to run off with it. And then you're just like, well, I'm just going to make it worse. I'm trying to be like, how do I
you have to navigate it really.
Get this out of your hands without causing more damage. Who wants to go first?
Well, if we're following the format from yesterday, I'll go. Let's see. Well, this feels weird because I'm saying the same thing from yesterday, but I'm going to do it. We had Parker's 5th birthday party. He's not actually 5 yet, but we had his 5th birthday party last weekend. You guys were both there. And that went great. But for the week before, I was like, do not ask people what they got you. Like the one thing that I care about is you not asking people what they got you. And I feel like every single person as they walked in, he was greeting them with, what did you get me? No, like, hello. I'm like,
right. Did you, like, when you were telling him that, were you getting a response from him? Did he seem to be understanding what you were saying, or was he just kind of like in one ear out the other?
No, he seemed like he understood. And we also have seen like that's happened at other kids' parties. Like, and I know that putting the import on something, then like focusing on something, then will make him focus on it. But I just couldn't believe that it was like literally what he was saying to everybody. And then you guys also know that 10 minutes before the party started, I like cut my head open carrying a metal chair too fast, walking across the yard, and got stitches. So that was fun. And then I just don't know how this is going to read, but okay. And then I wanted to just cram in because I wanted to ask Nick's opinion. Parker's been asking not exactly where babies come from, but just like, how does a baby get out of a mommy's tummy? Like, what is that like? And I was like, well, they comes out of the vagina. He was like, what do you mean? Like your butt? And I'm like, well, no, that's different than this. This is, it's just right in front of, I mean, I wasn't like, it didn't seem crazy to me. And he seemed to like get it and was like, oh, okay. And I was like, what, I really appreciate, like celebrated him asking the question, blah, blah, blah. And then when I talked to Eric about it, I was like, okay. And so he seems, because I bought a book about this like a year ago. I was like thinking that this was coming weird, which may seem weird, but he just is so curious. And I was like, I just want to be prepared for this. And by the way, the book that we got, which is, I think it's Where Did I Come From, is pretty graphic in a way it's not like weird. It's pretty matter of fact, but I'm like, I don't think we're ready for this. Like, it's like full on every detail of the whole deal.
Right.
Not ready for that. But I was just telling Eric, like, this is what it said. And then I was like, it came out of the vagina. He goes, what? Like, he's like,
Eric said that.
Yeah. What are you thinking? And he just like listened to me talking. And I was like, yeah, well, you could tell a matter of fact. So it's like body awareness. And so he's like empowered by information. Eric was like, he's 4. Like, are you going to tell him like the penis goes in the vagina? Like, that's the conversation that you want to have with your 4-year-old? And I was like, well, yeah, that's what I was thinking. And so now I've thought about it and I'm like, okay, well, maybe we just focus on, I've thought about it and also, done a workshop and listened to some. And I am thinking we just tell like the biology part, which, like the egg and the sperm, like those things. And I think it seems like he might just accept that information, but I was curious what Nick's feedback as a dude would be. Cause I thought maybe dudes have a different perspective or Joy's also. And like, yeah, that.
My first question about that is, did he ask you that right before the birthday party started?
Oh, that's a good question. No.
Okay.
He asked me at bed and I think it was like 2 nights later.
Okay. Cause I was like, oh, I would definitely not get into that right before, because then he'll just be telling every person just like,
no.
You're like, what's at least Cruze?
Do you have a vagina? Do
Yeah.
you have a vagina?
Oh, he's asked me that like a million times about like when he was, I don't know, maybe a year ago, he'd ask about everybody in my family, you know, the anatomy and like, so mom does, so wait, Steppy does, you know, just like, and that leads to what I think is that I probably wouldn't have the full on scientific conversation with him at this age because I know that he's just going to go to school and talk about it. And then I don't know, I feel like a lot of parents are probably going to be like, it's a little early and like inappropriate. I just don't want, because I know how he is, you know, and how most of them are. Like they'll go talk about it and stuff. Now, I haven't taken workshops on like when you're supposed to talk about that. But in my opinion, it will probably be a little bit early. Yeah. But also, I wouldn't ever want to paint the picture of like the stork, you know, like the old time, like, oh, the stork just delivers them at the front door because it's just confusing, you know?
Bring it back.
Yeah, like aren't storks extinct?
Yeah. Are they extinct?
Listen, it used to be the storks, but they're extinct now.
Yeah, so I wouldn't want to put
Climate
that
change.
like and that being said, I'm not like one of those parents that's like totally against like Easter Bunny or Santa Claus and stuff for a little while. Like that stuff is different. I think that's like fun, like imagination stuff. But in the field of actual real world stuff, I don't want to paint like a fake picture. I would definitely talk to Shannon to see what she thought, but present it in a different way. I probably would get I think I'm with Eric on this one.
Yeah.
For me, at least with Penny, you know, she's obviously younger than Parker. And I think I've said both. I think I've said your booty, and I have also said your vagina. With Ava, I wasn't giving her the real terms for things, but with Penny, I have been so far. But that seems to satisfy her. I'm like, oh, you grew in my belly, and then I just kind of pushed you out.
Yeah.
For now, she's like, okay.
Yeah. Works.
Not the questions aren't going too much deeper than that yet. So sometimes just like the most simple answer might satiate what they're wanting to know.
Totally. I think
who knows?
I think in the like, I don't know, 18 hours since we saw each other, I've and Eric and I haven't, my aunt came in town and we haven't had a chance to like really talk about it more, but I think I'm just going to follow Parker's lead. And like, if he keeps asking questions, then we figure out how to approach it. But maybe I came in a little hot, although I think everything else, just by the way, speaking of the workshop, everything that I did was pretty textbook, not to brag, but along the lines of what she was saying so far and following his lead. And I haven't overdone it yet. So I will not overdo it. But I think the anatomical terms are good. Has he brought it up again?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Has he brought it up again, or was he satisfied with your answer?
No, he hasn't yet. But I'm ready.
Yeah,
so ready.
Clearly.
Nick, how was your week?
My weekend was good. It was packed. I had a lot of work to do. I had the big event Sunday, and that just kind of took it out of me. It was like an event that I've been planning for months and months, and it was a long day. And then the next morning, the main difference with my work, at least, is that after an event like that or a weekend like that, normally the following day I could just veg out on the couch all day long and just turn my brain off and not have to think about stuff. And, you know, times are different now. So now I have a responsibility. Obviously, like Shannon works during the day. So I woke up really exhausted and it was time to dad, you know, like he's not on, he's certainly not going to be like, oh, Dad, you had a big weekend. You know what? I'm going to take it easy. We're going to chill. I'm going to listen to what you say today. So, and you know, and that's, I know that going into it, like obviously, so I try to take it easier the night before, but it was one of those weekends for sure. During the school year, it would be a little easier on me because he's at school all day. And now just during the summer it can be kind of brutal, especially if it's really hot outside. It was an action-packed day of the summer where, you know, he's wanting to do stuff. We went swimming. He had actually, you know what? I take that back. That's not fair because he did stay at my sister's house Sunday night. So Monday morning, I did have until like 11. I went and picked him up at like 11. But he had already apparently had popsicle over there, which I found out much later in the day, which is great. Then we come home and he sort of caught like a little tiny power nap in the car. And if you have a toddler, you know that those little 10-minute naps, oh man, they're good to go. Like they're not going to nap later. If they get the little, at least him, if he gets that power nap in, you're
Done.
that's it. You're done.
Yeah.
So, just a normal day, where it was like he's playing with friends a lot, and where we went swimming, and then he had 2 more popsicles at the pool because he conned my friend Donna because she's so sweet and always gives me popsicles, and he cons her into more of them when I'm not looking. And then just playing in the yard. It was just nonstop, just like a normal good day, but tiring. And then by the time that Shannon got home, he was pretty exhausted. And it was, as you guys know, it was those hours between like 5:30 and 8:00, especially if they haven't napped, it was that window. So I warned her when she got home. He's very, very tired, very prone to meltdowns here in the next, and I don't know, any second now.
That's the fun of it. We don't know when it's going to happen.
Yeah. And it was, she was making us dinner, and I was writing an email or something here in the kitchen, and it's sitting right next to him. I just didn't notice. She got these plant babies from one of her friends that she had given to her a couple of years ago, and the plants matured. And then so her friend just gave them back to her, and she doesn't have any grown-ups of these plants, I guess. And so it's pretty significant to her and important to her that she's going to replant this plant and start a new one. And I guess part of it was sitting on the counter here, and he went to touch it. It's also a succulent that has little spiky things like a cactus,
Mm-hmm.
And he went to grab it, and she's like, "Hey, don't grab that. That's going to hurt you, and also it's delicate and it's mommy's. Please don't mess with that." And, I guess I heard it, but wasn't really paying attention. I look over, and he has a plastic knife, and he's just chopping it into pieces. And I go, "Hey, what are you doing?" And Shannon looked over, turned around from the stove, and looked over and was like, "Hey, stop." She wasn't I don't know. It scared him in a sense. It's kind of like the Jeremy reaction,
Mm-hmm.
he froze, and immediately he gets scared. When she is stern with him, it hits him a little different than if I am. And I don't know if that's because I am more often, so he's just more used to it.
I think that's my vote, because I feel the same way with Penny. I feel like she's kind of over me.
Yeah.
She's like, I know you've got all these empty threats, lady, but when this guy gets serious.
Yes. Yeah, Eric looks at him sternly, and he turns into a puddle for sure.
Oh, I want that authority so bad, believe me. But she just said, "Hey, what are you doing?" Because she just reacted. And then that is when the meltdown started. And then there was just no stopping it. Even when we diffused that situation about the plant, he was worked up, and it was nonstop. Yeah. And then it doesn't matter. He'll cry about a piece of paper that's on the ground. And it just, it's one thing into the other. Yeah. It wasn't a situation where you'd be like, all right, well, let's just take it upstairs and go to bed, because we hadn't eaten dinner yet. And it wasn't quite time. And that was a rough one. It was not a good way because I still had to stream that night, after that, 2 hours. And I got a headache, just one of the normal things. And actually, I always try to start my stream on time. I'm very punctual with that, because in that world it means I feel consistency is the biggest key to streaming. So I'm hardly ever late. And that night I just took an hour. I was late to the stream an hour, and I just didn't even do anything in the hour. I just kind of I don't know, browse the internet, or just tried to turn my brain off for a second.
That's great, I think. I mean, I understand you're saying you try to be consistent with your work, but I think that was good to give yourself that moment. That's good.
Yeah, I think I had to going into something I don't want to come off I've had a bad day, or because I didn't have a bad day, but I don't want to come off I'm in a bad mood, or that I don't want to be there, because they, it's a little bit of I'm entertaining people. I can't be in a bad mood. I can't show hey, I didn't really want to be here tonight, which honestly I didn't. I would have rather just not do it for the night, take off. But it's a priority of mine, just parenting. I mean, obviously parenting is a bigger priority to me, but it is important to me. So I just dealt with it in the way that I could. But you never know. I mean, actually, and I never touched on this the other day, and I was like, oh, I wish I did. I normally stream at night. I know, there you go. I normally stream at night. My schedule is streaming at night, but as I'll touch on later in the episode, at least what I find is best about streaming is keeping a consistent schedule. So if you just stream Wednesday night at 5 p.m., then just show up a Wednesday at 5 p.m. And then if you are on Friday at 2 p.m., like it's just a bonus to the viewers because they just know that you're going to be there every Wednesday. So sometimes I'll do just like if I have 2 hours during the middle of the day, I might stream, and it's rare. But when it happens, typically I'll line it up to where Cruze will be coming home from school or coming home from the Y and like make an appearance, because a lot of the people that are in my stream, like my followers and viewers and stuff, they've known me since before I had Cruze. So they've sort of been on this journey with me, and they see him on Instagram and stuff. And actually the stream titles of my streams back then when Shannon was like due any day, like when you go live, you can like title the stream, and he was 10 days late, and it was during the pandemic, and I was still streaming every night, and I would say sometimes the title would be "No, I don't have a baby yet," But anyway, he will make an appearance sometimes if I stream in the afternoon. He'll come in the room, and everybody loves seeing that because it's something totally different. And one time it was in the middle of the day, and I had a lot of viewers because like there's a thing that you could do where you can bring your viewers when you're done streaming like to someone else's stream. So when I wrap up, I take all my people with like the press of a button and bring them to someone else's stream. And someone had done that to me with a lot of people. So, I mean, I probably had like 800 viewers like at the time when it happened. And he came in there and he was like, he likes to show off, even though you can't read the chat or anything. He calls it like he knows I'm like talking to my friends and stuff like on the internet, I guess. And he was doing the song and dance. He was going to get all the stuffed animals and like putting them in the room or whatever. And then all of a sudden, he comes in and he sat in my chair, my desk chair, where my streaming computer is. And I remember watching the playback, and I just look at him and I go, "Oh no, don't do that!" And then he just like ended the stream, just in one button. He just instantly ended the stream, and I was like, "No!" I started it back up, and it was fine. Like most of the people were still there because it only takes about 30 seconds to start it back up, and they thought it was hilarious, and they were actually like waiting around because they knew that I would start it back up.
Yeah,
and it
did make for your reaction.
Yeah, and it did make for a pretty good like clip. I have the clip somewhere. I don't think I've ever posted it, but I do have the clip of him just like me going, "Oh no, hey, don't touch that." It's like ends the stream. And like it's pretty specific. You can't just end the stream with hitting any button. I don't even know how.
Of course. Right, of course.
It was actually pretty hilarious.
That is really funny. No, I'm glad. We did not get that story. Everybody, we did not get that story in the original recording.
That's
so
right.
Yes.
I thought about that last night and was like, "Oh, I should have told that story."
Completely unique.
It's like when my two worlds collided, like in the biggest way, right there.
I wanted to say also, I don't know if this needs to be said. Just so quick. I think it's the disciplinarian that whoever's the most disciplinarian, the kid seems to in my experience, disregard their correcting more. And that's what I feel like both of y'all are saying. And I'm honestly glad to hear that Cruze is not listening maybe, or not responding to your corrections in the same way that he does as Shannon's. Cause I was thinking that it was because Eric was a dude, and I was like, "Oh, is this always going to be how it is? Like, I have to be the disciplinarian."
Right.
But that makes me feel like we can like balance it out more. Hearing that it's not like in y'all's case, it's flipped. So anyway,
and did the part get recorded about my first big dad win where he like chose me over Shannon in the Bahamas?
I think that was in this first part, right? Yeah. So go.
Oh, it was. Okay.
Yeah,
was it? Or maybe not. I'm not sure, but
tell it just in case, so we have the option.
Well, he tends to choose Shannon over me in like a lot of situations as far as like bedtime. Like he'll be like, at bedtime, one of us, we rotate days. One of us goes upstairs reading books, lay with him until he falls asleep. And like pretty much every single night, he'll be like, "So is it your turn to read books?" And I'll say, "Yeah." And he'll go, "No, I want it to be mommy's turn." And it's like ruthless. It's like every time. Just like sometimes it's full on meltdowns because he would just much rather Shannon do it. And it's been like this. And he's even said crazy things like we were in the car one time and literally out of nowhere, like he's in the back seat. They don't like when you guys talk. Like I know that Penny, like if the parents are just talking, and they're in the car, they just want to like talk and just be in the middle of it. we weren't even talking. We were just like in the car. We were just like chilling, listening to the radio, whatever. And he just from the back seat goes, "Hey, Dad, I don't love you. I love Mom." I'm like, okay, So it's like things like that. And my sister's always like, "Look, I went through the same thing. Like her husband Tandy went through the same thing when they had their first boy, little Tandy." And she's like, eventually the tables are going to turn on that, like for sure. And the first real recorded win that I had in that situation was February of this year. So he was 3. We were in the Bahamas. There was 3 other kids his age in our house, and they're just worn out by the end of the day, just playing all day long. And it was time for us to read books. We call it reading books, even if sometimes we don't. But we had a air mattress in our bedroom for him, like on the ground. We got this little air mattress, and he said, "Mommy, Dad, I really want you both to come snuggle me tonight, like both of you." And it was my night to do it. And I was like, okay, for me, that's like a win. If I'm even included in the, so we're laying there. We read him a book, and then he turns and looks at Shannon and he goes, "Okay, Mommy, you can go now. I'm just going to snuggle with Dad." And we looked at each other like, oh my gosh. And she was like, "You just want me to go?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'll just snuggle with Dad." And that was definitely my first, like, wow, like the tables have turned. And we talked about it after. She was like, "Oh, that was kind of sad, but obviously like it's your time." Now, I'm not really on top anymore. That lasted for like a little while, but it's interesting to me that it took even that long, and everything that we read or that we hear from other parents and stuff, it's like completely normal. Sarah, I know that you said that it's opposite, like with Parker, right?
Yeah,
like
it is.
Yeah,
he's the preferred parent for sure. Like
he's the preferred parent. It's such a
no
harsh
daddy,
way to put it.
I want Daddy to do it. Is that? Yeah, it is. It's hard, but I was for a little bit, but it is definitely Eric for the last, I don't know how long, a long time.
Dude, Penny will take her water bottle and she'll walk past me and to him, and he'll be like in the middle of doing something, and she'll be like, "Can you get me some more water?" I'm like, "Penny, I can get you some more water. I'm right here." And she's like, "No, I want Dad to do it."
Yeah.
He's here. Maybe you'll get. He's about to walk in. You'll get maybe a little sound bite. "Hey, how was the Y, buddy? It was good."
"Hey, Shannon."
I'm talking to Joy and Sarah. Penny's mom.
Hi, Cruze.
You want to say hi?
Hi, Cruze.
Say hi. They can hear you.
Okay.
Did you have fun at the Y?
That's Penny.
No, that's not Penny.
Hey,
That's
Penny, do you want
Joy.
to come say hi to Cruze?
Here comes Penny. He said, "Hi, Cruze."
He said, "Hi, Penny."
Joy, how was your week?
My week has been good. I got the Indiegogo campaign up for the short film that I wrote.
I'm a winner.
I'm a winner. And so, yeah, hopefully we raise enough money now that we can actually make it.
Is there a goal on it?
Yeah, we put 10,000 on the Indiegogo, but we can do it for less than that. If we need to. That's just like our dreaming big goal.
Oh, y'all can do that.
Are you going to podcast with us, Cruze? I know you can't hear me though.
Penny.
No, Penny's gone.
Why?
She's watching a movie.
Why? That is great. That's what else I was going to say in my check-in is that I am officially in the why phase.
Oh, the Y phase, yeah.
Where everything I say, why? And then I give the answer, why? Another answer, why? But like, why to things that there is no response I can give.
He wants to know what the sticker says. It says Camel Express Car Wash. You know the car wash we go? Okay. She's going, "Hi, Cruze." You can't hear her, but she is saying hi.
1 minute. I'm talking to Penny. Hi, Penny.
He said, "Hi."
And I think you talked yesterday, Joy, about Penny potty. Is Penny potty training?
Yeah, almost done. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we are done. I only relented to like accidents happening at any time.
That's the key.
Yeah, and just being like, okay, well, we're not wearing pull-ups anymore unless you're like in bed. So we all just get to be prepared to clean up piss and poop.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good times.
I did this morning. Woke up to her just crying And I looked at the monitor, and she's just standing in the middle of her room with her light on, and she doesn't have her diaper on. And so when I came up and I opened her door, and she's standing there with no bottoms on, and then I see the diaper on the floor, and I can tell there's just so much shit in it.
Oh,
and so
no.
I'm immediately just like taking in the room to be like, have you touched anything? Is it on anything? Is it in the bed? Whatever. And it wasn't. Like, it was on her. And so we just ended up going right into the bathtub. But like, she didn't touch it. She didn't smear it anywhere. Like,
That's a win.
I was amazed.
It definitely is a win.
It could have been so much worse.
Joy, did you have a journal entry?
Yeah, but we can just be like, cool. We can just pretend it didn't happen, you know?
Your journal entry?
Yeah.
I know we're over.
Unless
So,
unless it meant something to.
yeah, I think it did.
Did it seem
Do
worth it?
Yeah, it did. Do you have like 2 minutes for that, Nick? Is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. All right, spit it out.
All right. I had originally read this. I'll have ideas and then I do them, and then afterwards I feel like, oh, that felt so, like, I don't know, self-indulging somehow, or
No, it was relevant.
I'd found my journal from when Ava was born. And so I went back and read some early entries, and one of them correlated with what we're doing right now. Okay. Ava is growing on me. She talks all the time now. This is from December 22nd, 2012. I genuinely enjoy time with her for the most part. It's been a while since I've lost patience with her. I've had this urge to want to help new moms in any way I can. It's a very general feeling that I don't know how to turn into a more specific thought, maybe like a blog where moms can honestly talk about motherhood, birth, miscarriages, pregnancy. However, I'm sure this exists. I don't know. I guess I just want to create a community, a support system for new moms. That sounds so cliche though, but nonetheless, it's been a long time since the thought stuck with me like that. Something to feel remotely passionate about. Oh well, baby crying. My time is up. But when I read that by myself for the first time, I was just like weeping because I was like, I did it. Like, that thought, that moment, and especially like that, just those, I was having a lot of dark feelings around that time, a lot of isolated feelings, and just to be able to look back and have proof that, like, if you have an idea and it's sticking with you, just keep it alive, because you never know if it might actually turn into something real. And now here we are, ending season 3 of the podcast just for that purpose.
The first line of that journal entry, you said something that always stuck with me, like, because you said it to me one time around that time.
Right.
And I had known you at that time for about a year, because I think you were probably like six months pregnant, like when I met you. And you said, I think I knew you pretty well for knowing you for a year, but this one thing just always stuck with me. And it's such a defining thing for you. Like, and it just, to me, at least, the way that I view you is like, you're always somebody that just says what they think most of the time. And you said to me one time at an event, I remember there's a party that me and Jeremy were doing, and it was like maybe you hadn't been going out a lot and you were out that night, and you said, oh yeah, this kid is finally like growing on me. Like, I'm finally starting to like her. And I was like, thought you were joking. And I was like, oh, that's funny. And you were like, no, I'm serious. And I was like, what? Like, you didn't like her before? And you're like, it's not like I didn't like her, but I can't remember exactly what you said, but it was like the good things have not outweighed the hard things yet, and you were like finally starting to understand as like a new mom, like, oh, I see why people like this, or I could see myself eventually like really loving this kid. And it just stuck with me forever. Like, I still remember that, because I was like, man, that's so blunt and just like so real. And I thought you were joking at first, and you were like, no, I'm not joking. and you even clearly, because you even put it in your journal as the first line of that entry.
Yeah, I think I was pretty blindsided by, I think like the first like week when you have all the help around and everyone's visiting, and there's this kind of magical, like, oh my gosh, I can just stare at you forever. And then the responsibilities and the needs start outweighing
I put
everything else.
in the mouth.
Why would you, what medicine? What are you talking about? What did you put in your mouth?
Need the water because it's the medicine out.
Okay, well, there's some water right there. But just like, yeah, and breastfeeding on top of that too was like, I was so blindsided by how hard it was for me to feel connected to her. I felt so much resentment and so much like, this is not what I thought I was signing up for. And I just thought that like love would like, you know, you watch movies from the 90s of giving birth and like everything was just so sugar coated. And I just thought those feelings would just be there. I thought all this stuff that was supposed to feel natural would be natural, and then it just wasn't. And I was just like, well, then something must be wrong with me, because I don't want to hold you right now, and I don't want to breastfeed you, which I thought was supposed to be like the sweet thing we were going to do together.
Is that like
hated so much of it?
Is that like textbook like postpartum depression?
I'm sure.
I was going to ask that.
Yeah, I'm sure that's like a huge. I feel like postpartum is just on such a massive spectrum that I'm sure we're just still even learning like what all the different ways that can
manifest,
peek its head out. But yeah, I would imagine.
Were you like that? Were you like that with Penny too, or like it has been since you've been through it before? Like it
with Penny, I was like just gearing up for knowing like this is going to be really hard. You might go through some of the same things, but definitely one of the things that helped is that, you know, I felt a lot of pressure to at least make it to 6 months with Ava, because that was like the minimum. Like when I looked up or whatever the doctors or nurses were saying, were like you can do 6 months, like minimum, that's best. And so I really pushed myself with Ava to make it that far. And so with Penny, I was already dreading it, hoping my milk production would be different and it would be like a non-issue. Oh yeah, we didn't talk about this last time either, but Shannon, so Nick's wife, Shannon, she had buttloads of milk and had a bunch in the freezer. And so when Penny was born and I was trying to get a backup supply going, Shannon gave me like a bunch of milk of hers that Penny had for at least a month. And I just I couldn't keep up. Like I would just see the bags disappear out of the freezer. I would go through like 5 a day, and I would be like, no, we can't go through 5 a day because we're not going to have like, oh my gosh. So at 6 weeks, I was like, I'm going to go ahead and bow out, because I'm going to start going to a really dark place if I don't get some space from this. And so this time I was way more aware that like I need to be taking care of myself and making sure that I'm okay, so that I can just be more present and enjoy her and not just be like white knuckling my way through the newborn phase.
We called all that, like we called milk like liquid gold, because she did have a lot, and we have a freezer out here on the patio, like a chest freezer, and she would bag it up and put it all in there, you know. And then I remember when she was giving you some, and even like long after we needed it, it stays good for a long time in the freezer. And one time there was a bad storm and our power went out. And the number one thing that we were scrambling for was to get power for the freezer, because she didn't want all the milk to go. She's like, no, I worked way too hard. Like, no. And I had to I got the generator from y'all's house and brought it over here to plug the freezer into it, just so we didn't lose the liquid gold.
Save the milk. All right. Well, because we can segue from that right into my next question, which is
perfect.
Supportive.
Looking at the car wash, honk beep beep, look at the car wash. Yeah. Did you know that Sarah and I both work at a car wash? Isn't that exciting? And also so odd. And it's called Camel Express Car Wash, and it's an incredible company, and they're making some changes to their
offerings. And our top wash will now include this thing that's called graphene. And these are real facts, okay, about graphene that I know just an inordinate amount about. It won a Nobel Prize, this material. It's thinner than an atom, but also incredibly strong. So it protects and repels water, and it like adheres into every single like little surface on the like paint of your car. Then I'm doing a great job, guys.
I'm
reflects light, and it makes your car look like brighter and shinier than like it even does regularly. It's It's like really interesting, cool stuff. So that is the top wash. You can visit Camel Express Car Wash and get a free The Best Wash by texting code Momcult to 30400, and you can try that new product, Graphene, today.
Okay, so you and Shannon, friends all around you were starting to have kids. You guys were kind of one of the last couples standing for a minute. Mm-hmm. Did you guys, was it just kind of just wait and see if the desire is strong enough that we want to actually take steps to try to have kids? Or was the desire kind of always there and you were waiting for the best time?
I mean, that one's a little tricky because I think both of our memories are skewed. It's weird. It's kind of strange to think about that after the fact because now I can't imagine not wanting. Again, it's not that we didn't want one, but somehow maybe I made this up. Like, it's weird. We've talked about it before, and I'm like, you used to say that you didn't want kids and that we were good because we had, like, you know, nieces and nephews or whatever, you know. And then something changed as we got older. Maybe it was the well, if I don't do this, like, or we might be missing out. Like, you know, I don't know. Things just change. Like, just like human instincts, I guess. I don't know. Especially like motherly instincts for sure. Mm-hmm. I mean, I always was like, it's whatever you want to do. You know, I wasn't necessarily like, oh yes, we like have to, or no, I don't want to, you know. And then it just became really important and a priority, you know. And now I can't imagine not, you know,
like,
what I mean?
What would you be doing even?
Yeah, and I mean, really, it's so weird. I'm like, what? You know, and I really like the time that we chose in our life. I mean, I'm honest. I'm too selfish to have had a kid in my 20s. I can't imagine people that do. I mean, it's great for them, but like, it's just, I wouldn't have been a good dad. I wouldn't have been a good parent. Shannon would have always been a good parent. I mean, that's just how she is. Mm-hmm. I know myself, and I just would not have been. So, you know, shout out to all those people that like get it done like early in life, and like that's their focus, because I admire that, because I just wouldn't. I know myself, I wouldn't have been able to do it. Yeah. And, you know, I know people that have been raised like that by parents that just were too selfish and they weren't ready to do that. And it's unfortunate. It shows sometimes, you know. Yeah. And you want kids to have a good childhood, clearly. Also, I'm always like, some people my age that have kids that are my kids' age are like, oh, I'm going to be like the old dad at school. And I had the old dad at school. He wasn't like old, but I mean, he had me when he was 45 or 46, you know, but everybody loved my dad. He was like the cool dad. So I was like, fine, if I can be like that, I don't care. Fine with me. That's
wild. You just brought him up, because the next question out of my mouth was going to be, okay, you lost your dad when you were how old?
I was 27.
Okay. When thoughts of him or memories of him come up now that you are a dad, did you grieve at all that he didn't get to see you as a dad?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I definitely do. And even more so for, you know, I thought about it for a long time. Like when my sister got married, even like when her and Tandy started dating, my dad was in the restaurant industry his whole life, and he admired like chefs and like successful restaurant industry people. And I think that he didn't even get to meet Tandy, like my sister's husband, and he would have really, really liked him. And I thought about that for a long, and I know that Steph thinks about that a lot too. And so that one settled in for me long ago. I don't even know that it's completely settled in, you know. And also, Shannon's father passed away during COVID when she was pregnant, and she was like 6 months pregnant. So we always talk about that, like that, you know. That's tough too, because he never got to meet Cruze. But, you know, I think that my dad definitely envisioned me and my sister to be parents. But it really sucks when you think about like you not being able to bring him over there to hang out, you know.
Is there anything about your upbringing, things about your dad that you remember that you kind of infuse into you being a dad? Or was he very different from you?
I don't think he was very different than me. He was, I don't know. I mean, it sounds terrible to say. So, I mean, in all honesty, the way that my brain works, I feel like I want to not do some of the things that he did that I didn't like. Yeah. And that's a bad way of thinking about it. That's like reverse.
No, that was like going to be a tagline to the question too. Or are there any things that you actively do differently than you remember your dad doing?
I think that I have my dad's shortness of patience. and I see it a lot, and I try to not do that, but it's just a working thing all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Shannon has much more patience than me, so it's a nice balance, and I try to learn from her in those ways, but I don't know. Like, even the other night, it was, of course, these things always happen during meltdowns, and then whatever it was during the meltdown, whatever I did when I lost my patience, she's reminding me at that exact time that that's not how you handle that situation. Mm-hmm. And it's not what I want to hear right then. Like later, sure, and then it just never ends well. It wasn't like horrible, but it's just like us in the car, quiet, not talking for 15, whatever.
It's
and just
the worst. I'm always like, can we just get past it? Like, I just want to be done with this. I just want this part to be over.
I do think, that patience is just, I certainly inherited that from my dad, like not having patience. And, I don't know. It sounds like a scapegoat, but we all know, because at least like things were different when we were younger. Like things were accepted that are just not, and parenting that are just like not accepted now. So if you bring up some of those things, people are like, oh, especially younger people are like, oh, what? Like, that's not okay. And it's not, but it's just how it was, And so there's some things that I certainly don't want to reenact,
I mean, there's so many things about, I don't know. I feel like I'm reparenting myself. Like they did a great job in some ways, but didn't. But that's the conversation that I have with everybody. Everybody, doing things differently than our parents did.
Sure.
And they wanted to do things different. It's, and it's not a bad thing is what I'm saying.
It's ever evolving. I mean, there's going to be things that our kids, when their parents are going to be like, our parents used to do this. Like, what? Sure. It's going to sound so crazy, like smoking cigarettes in a hospital. It was just a normal thing.
Like while delivering a baby, I've heard that.
You know what I mean? Like, you know how insane that sounds now? But like, it wasn't insane then.
No. This is something we usually ask at the end, but like, what do you do for yourself? Like whenever to rejuvenate, to refill the well, what do you do?
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that on the prep sheet. That's such a tough question. That was like, when my brain was fried, I'm like, I can't think about this right now. I don't know.
Right. Like have Boom Bap and Twitch.
Yeah.
Is that still a big outlet for you? Does it feel a little more like work, so it gets a little murky and complicated?
I will say Twitch, absolutely. And like, I'm very connected with like a lot of the people. I mean, I did a party here in Nashville that people traveled literally from like 15 different states to come here. Yeah, it was like really cool.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm like pretty connected with a lot of these people, and they like that, and they like because it all started in the pandemic when streaming, what I streamed was DJing, and that's why I still stream. But especially at that time, it was like more like talking, like people just want to. And I'm just good at DJing and talking somehow. I never knew that was a thing, but I can do that pretty well. So there's very few successful streamers, DJ streamers that don't connect with their audience. Like you can't just get on there and like DJ, like you're not really going to build a community. You might have some viewers, but like
people want to know if they leave a comment that you'll
talk to them.
Yeah.
So I guess that's like almost like a therapy. Like when I turn on the stream, and I'm talking to people, and they're all familiar people. They're my friends. Like a lot of them I consider family now. I've known them for years. Like I've hung out with them several times in several different states. And so it's nice. It takes my mind like off the other stuff. And that definitely like fills that well, I guess, in a sense. Like streaming, I still like really love it. And they know that. And I tell them, and I'm like, I would not be doing this if I still like, it has that spark for me every time, which is, and some are better than others, obviously, but
are they like, whenever you get on, are there people, you're saying people are waiting, like they're on there? Like, that's cool.
I mean, so I have like a Discord server, like that's kind of nerdy. I don't know if you know what that is,
I
but
do.
It was, and I was taught early on from another friend of mine who was a streamer before the pandemic, not a DJ, just like a video game streamer, that I would need that. He's like, you're going to need it because it's a place for your community to, if you don't know what Discord is, it's almost like a personal message board. Like it's like your community, and you have different channels of different topics that you can set up, whatever. I have one that's like, what are you eating? Like post pictures of food. One that's music related, one that's just stream related, like to my stream, one that notifies people when I go live. And I swear, if I am, at this point, I know they're probably trolling me, if I am 3 minutes late like people are in there writing messages. I mean, what's going on? Are you, are we not doing this tonight? Like, I'm like, chill. So yes, people are like waiting, which feels really good, you know? And it's cool. People depend on it. And it's why people have supported me for so long. Like every time on Twitch, somebody renews their subscription, which is like monthly, it'll say how many months that they've subscribed. And like seeing now, since we've hit 4 years, it'll be like, so-and-so subscribed for 48 months. I'm like, that's crazy. Like, you know, and it's just, the subscriptions matter in Twitch because it's revenue for me, you know? So somebody is not, like, for example, I have people that don't show up to the stream much, like, because they're busy. It's not the pandemic anymore. They might show up once every 5 months, but they renew their subscription every month because they just want to support, because they know that I'm working hard doing it. And they were there, you know, in the trenches with us in the beginning, you know, and it's nice to see them when they pop up, and they're still like, a lot of them are still like, you have like a limited number of like VIP badges in your channel, and like I handed a lot of those out early to the people that were showing up every day, and I know that they like to see it. They haven't been in 6 months, and they show up and they still have the VIP badge. Like it feels special.
What do you? Is it solely a badge, or do they get some like additional perks or something?
No, it's just like a little, like a verified check. So if you're on my channel, you have a pink diamond next to your name. Then it shows like other viewers like, oh, this person's like a VIP in this channel. It's just kind of like a flex, but like a nod. It feels good. And there's other things that's just part of the culture on there. So yeah, I mean, to answer your question, that's what does it for me, at least now. Like it usually does help. And I feel better after it, you know? Like if I'm having a bad day, it instantly changes when I start streaming. Then I'm past it, because I normally stream like 3 to 4 hours. So it's like 4 hours of not thinking about whatever was bothering me, or the epic meltdown that happened right before bed, or
you can't maintain you can't maintain the same investment because your brain is like, we've been over here doing this thing now. So you had there was some trauma around Cruze when he was little with his surgery. I didn't know if you wanted to talk about that.
Yeah, sure.
What that experience was like for you.
So he was born with a condition called craniosynostosis. So we didn't know this until about 3 months into, you know, his life. And that is basically, I'm going to probably botch it. It's been a while. I'm not like super into the research of that condition anymore, but I know that it is 1 in every like 2,500 babies, which sounds rare, but if you have any idea, which you guys do, how many babies are born every day, it is not rare. It's pretty common. As a matter of fact, our next door neighbor's little girl.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Same. And we kind of bonded over that. That was a whole other story. But yeah, he's the first person I met, and I was the first person he met that, you know, had this similar thing. But it's essentially when the sutras in their head close too early, and like they don't have a soft spot. Right. So the sutras close, and in his case, it was on each side. And then so his head can only grow forward and back. And it's not like it's just cosmetic, but there's like a 30% chance that over time that can start putting pressure on their brain. So you have to do something about it. So we were given options, and one of them was like a surgery, the less intrusive, but the surgery was at 3 months old. It was going to be like a month from when we found out, which is terrifying. And that one, it was a small incision in the front and the back of his head. And then once they do the surgery, he would have to wear the headgear, like the helmet that you see babies with, you know, for a year. And it's 23 hours a day. 23 hours a day.
I'm not cut out for that, bro.
So it was that, or the other one is the more intrusive surgery, which was they essentially operate and they cut. I don't know, cut sounds like so gory, but his skull from one side to another, from ear to ear, and they go in there and they fix it all with hardware essentially, or whatever, you know, and then that's it. Then it's done, and then you don't have to wear a headgear or whatever. And I remember asking the surgeon.
They wait till he's older for the second one?
Yeah, 6 months at that one. So not, you know, still only a couple months. And it was like clock is ticking, like we need an answer in like a week.
You're like, man, I wasn't prepared to make these type of decisions.
It was our first like real like when we got lucky, like he always slept through the night, always. Never a problem with that. Never a problem with eating. And parents would be like, man, that's crazy. Like, you're so lucky. I'm like, yeah. But did you have to have a surgery?
But guess what we do got?
They split his skull wide open at 6 months old. So, yeah, that was a lot. We were in the hospital for 5 days, and his head was like a balloon. But I remember asking the surgeon in the office before, well, which is the more risky one? Because even if one is 1% more risky than the other, we're going to do the other. And he was like, no, it's the exact same risk. And I was like, I don't understand how this is possible. One is like too tiny. And for the bigger one, the one that he had, you have to do a blood transfusion also. And I was like, I think I asked him 5 times. And I kept being like, I'm so sorry. I just want to know that this is clear. One is 2 tiny incisions. One is split their skull all the way open from ear to ear. And it's the same risk, exactly. And he was like, yes, because the only risk is anesthesia. That's literally the only risk. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, it's 100%, And so we ultimately went with the more invasive one. But I'll never forget those papers that you sign. When you're an adult and you sign, I don't know if you guys have ever had like anesthesia, but
I've only been put under once.
You have to sign a paper that essentially says if you don't wake up, it's not on them.
Our fault, yeah.
And that hits a lot different when you're signing for a 6-month-old.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like really, really tough. And then of course, like him waking up. We can't even watch the videos. Like we have obviously a bunch of videos of like him waking up from it and just like being in the hospital. And it was like crazy. Just like we think about it now and we're like, I think we were just so in it that it just wasn't. It wasn't hitting like when you watch it after.
We were just.
You're in survival.
We were in survival mode, essentially. Yeah. And that was like really tough, but man, and that's the first lesson I learned. I was like, man, how resilient they are. It was crazy. He bounced back like it was nothing.
Yeah, whenever we saw posts of it, it was just like so quickly. It's
so intense.
He's got a cool badass Frankenstein.
He does have a cool scar, yeah. And they do kind of like this wavy scar, so it's like goes with your hairline, but you can still see it. And like, even like when he gets his haircut, and he always gets his hair cut by the same guy. There was a long time where he would cut his hair in a certain way, where he's like, oh, well, because then his scar will show, like, because you could see it on the sides, like if it's a close cut. And I'm like, I don't care about that. It's fine. It's not. This isn't like the 60s, like, or what, I don't know what that means, but I was saying, like, people are not making fun of scars, like, rather.
Right.
They think it's, I don't know.
Again,
back when
they
scars
used to
were.
Yeah, they used to. I mean,
Look
I'm
down
telling
on
you,
scar
like,
people.
no one's gonna scar shame him for the scar on his head. If they do, like, whatever, I don't care. He's not gonna care.
Are you guys hungry?
Yeah,
I am.
It's lunchtime.
Yeah.
Do you have any ideas?
I'm thinking about like some bagels, some schmears, maybe some pasta.
Yeah.
I bet they've got other stuff now that we don't even know about.
Fine
and
goods.
I bet it's all really, really good.
What are we talking about?
We're talking about Mr. Aaron's Goods.
Yes. Locally owned, family, lovely, involved in everything is fresh, wonderful, and incredibly quick to prepare meals that you can pick up in East Nashville at TKO. I'm not going to get their hours right, but you should look them up on Mr. Aaron's Goods. It's MRAARONSGOODS.com. And you can use code MOMCULT for 20% off your order at MrAaronsGoods.com.
What do you feel guilty about?
Oh, God. Just in general or just when it happens? Yeah, always losing my patience.
Yeah.
Always feel guilty. And there's been times where it's been like way worse. And especially they have that way of bringing it up. Like months later. Remember that time when you yelled in my face?
Remember that time when you pulled my arm?
Oh, yeah. Or now, he does you're hurting me. Like, I'm not. I'm like barely touching your hand. But for sure, like, at night, if you had a hard day and then it's after bedtime and then you have hours to unwind, you think about it later, you're like, I didn't have to lose my patience like that. Like, it wasn't that big of a deal. I don't have to.
It's so much easier when you've had space from the
I don't have to tell him no 20 times for the third cup of milk. You can just have the third cup of milk sometimes or whatever, like.
The guilt hits you when you're alone.
That's exactly right. Right. And I know that's
pictures,
not.
like spending your time. Yeah.
I know that's not just me, but I'm like, that's when it does. That's why I'm like, if I stream, I don't have to deal with the guilt
Right. Yeah.
Is he, is Cruze more sensitive to either one of you, or like you as the dad?
For sure, more sensitive to Shin. I will tell him, at least right now, I will tell him stuff, and he's just no. Like if I would have told him to sit down right there, he would just say no and just yell at me. But like, I mean, that's just the truth. Sometimes I'm like, is he like that because I yell more or I lose my patience
I'm
more
the
than she does?
disciplinarian more, I would say,
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
think
And
me
that's
too.
why.
Penny's just used to it.
Well, I was at your house one time when I brought him over there to play, and I remember.
Oh my
I think
gosh.
it's at least with Penny. I mean, with Ava, it's been so long, I don't remember. I'm sure there were times, but I do feel like when you have the second kid, you're a lot more seasoned. And you know what to expect. So I haven't seen this happen with Penny, but you know what I'm going to say. Like they were
When
playing,
she threw that thing at me?
Yeah, and she threw it and hit you in the face,
I
and you
yelled
went from like
so loud.
You went from like 0 to 10, but like in my opinion, in my eyes at the time, I'm like, I'm not judging. Not that you care, but I wasn't judging you. I was like, oh, I would have been worse.
Well,
I was like,
when a kid is I mean, she threw like a heavy
no, it hit you
wooden
right in the
something
face.
in my face. Yeah, like when you were saying it's so hard to filter that reaction when it's something that you don't see coming, so you're not like prepared for it. But also, I want her to know as soon as possible.
Yeah.
That you cannot do
And
that.
let me ask you
Especially
this.
make sure you're not doing it to anybody else. Like,
Let me ask you this: and you're Joy, so I don't know, you're different than most
You're
people.
not like a girl or a boy, just a joy.
You're Joy, and like you have this thing. I mean, I don't know. It's the way that you are. It kind of goes with the story I told earlier about how you said, "Oh, I'm starting to like this kid." It's like you're very like blunt, and I always feel like you don't care what people think of you, or not, in a good way. Like you're just like. So does it affect you? Is that situation? Is it even worse because I was there as a parent, like with my kid? Because for me, that would be part of it too. Like if you did this behind closed doors in my house, it's one thing, but I would be even more upset that you did it when we had company over another kid. Did that bother you at all, or it's the same?
I like other parents to witness other parents do things to make them go, all right, I'm not the only one that's done that.
Yeah.
Like I remember thinking, I'm glad Nick saw me lose my shit because maybe it'll make him feel
better about
less
losing
bad
mine.
when he loses his shit. Yeah. Like which is why it's like when you can have play dates or be with another group of people and you can all be like, oh yeah. I'm not in this like vacuum by myself dealing with all this chaos. Like we're all dealing with this chaos. I've also, what I did not do with Ava that I'm really trying to do with Penny, it's really hard when I will find myself saying things where I'm like, oh, I'm instilling shame. I'm acting like you should feel bad about this. Like, why aren't you feeling more bad about this? And then that feeling really awful. And so with Penny, I've been trying really hard to address the behavior and not her.
Right.
And say, I'm sorry that I yelled at you. I'm upset because something hit me and it hurt. Mm-hmm. And I'm upset about the thing that happened. Yeah. And that is hard because that takes control on my end to
that's that guilt
want to deliver it that way.
That later guilt that you think about.
Later guilt.
I mean.
Do y'all have a hard, what is your out?
I mean, I need to go, but I would say let's end on, what would you say to new parents or somebody who's wanting to be a dad or, some advice you would leave behind?
Well, there is something, because I saw that in the notes, and this is sort of like a trivial thing, but it's also like something that I've mentioned a lot to other parents and just to other people that don't have kids, because I never knew this before. Well, there's a couple of things. First of all, I learned that every single thing that they said was going to happen, it does happen. But I think before you're actually a parent, like you hear it, but it's kind of like one in one ear, out the other. And then you're reminded when it happens, you're like, oh, they said this was going to happen. That for sure. Mm-hmm. What they did not say is that, 3 with him, the age 3 has been for sure the most challenging, like not even close. And we thought that we skated by because we were like, we made it through the terrible twos. Like, it wasn't even that bad. And any parent will go, oh, it's not the terrible twos. No. It's 3 or 4, I don't even want to think about that. But it's like every single parent will say that. And I'm like, why didn't you say this? Why did I think that I made it through?
Terrible twos just sounds catchier.
And that's it.
Yeah,
the
but
terrible
it's the branding.
Yeah.
It's the branding. It 100% is. And that's why I'm always like, for like new parents.
Yeah.
Like Cruze had just turned, was turning 3 when Matt and Michelle's son was born. I was like, oh, just wait. It's not the 2s. Believe me, it's the 3s. And I always say that as advice. And like I said, it's sort of like trivial, but it just has such an impact because like we've had, like if you ask Shannon, it's like we've had a hard year and it's not anything particular. It's like he didn't have to have a major surgery or anything this year, but it was just like we weren't prepared for how challenging 3 was going to be.
It's just there. It's like when their bipolarness comes out. It's so it's just unpredictable. You kind of have to be.
And they're learning
on all the time, depending on are they about to get super pissed about something that I didn't see coming at all? And
I always say managing my emotions in response to his is the most difficult part.
First, without a doubt.
One.
Yeah.
You're saying things like, no, I don't want to do that. Whereas like you weren't doing that before. You're forming your own opinions about stuff.
Pushing the boundaries.
All of a sudden you don't want to eat beans. Like, why, bro? You love beans. But just like he told me the other night, I mean, this kid loves eating and he loves beans. Like he literally told me the other night, just made him like green beans. Like I always make for him, as like a side. And he goes, I'm not eating those. And you know what? I'm not eating beans ever again. I was like, what is this? Like, why? Like this is not a challenge that I need to be faced with right now.
He doesn't mean it.
I know he doesn't mean it.
Parker this morning said he's never getting out of the car. He's never going to school or camp and something else. He'll never be my friend again.
Oh,
never
yeah.
love me again.
Oh boy, you had one of those mornings.
Yeah. No, that was just over the course of the last week. Things he's never going to do again. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard but you're learning, and then I feel like that later guilt that we were talking about is like I'm always like, why did I care so much? Like his brain is not fully, even close to fully developed.
Why am I getting invested in these conversations?
Right. Like he's not trying to, or why when I was upset with him, I just didn't talk to him for 20 minutes. That's so ridiculous. But you can't, it's so hard to think about that stuff in the moment. And it's so much easier just later. And then I'm like, tomorrow I got to be better.
Right. Well, that's why it's so important that as parents to even have the mental space to reflect. Like, again, they're on you. They need your attention. Like, it's very hard to distinguish those two versions of yourself when you're in the middle of it.
Yeah. And then imagine just spending 9 to 6 with him trying to make every hour count, doing something, like I said, going swimming or taking him here, doing this, and all day long, only for him at the end of the day to be like, is it your turn to read me books tonight?
You really get away from me.
Yeah, and I'm like...
So I have that. I'm the you in that scenario.
Right.
And what I tell myself and what people say, I've heard some experts say, is that means that they feel safest with the parent, that they feel like they can be like, all right, just get away from me. This other one's the one that I want. Because they feel like they can say anything to you. That's how I'm processing.
We'll just turn it like that. That's fine.
Which makes sense to me.
It does make it makes you feel a little bit better.
Well, thank you, Nick, so much for being our Dadcult guest
of
2024. You're doing an awesome job.
Yes.
You're a really, really, really good dad.
Thank you.
So when that dad guilt hits you at the end of the night,
I'll think about that. I'll clip that and play it back.
Yes. Where can people find you if they want to follow you on Twitch?
Just at Rate Wonder everywhere.
RATE.
RATEWONDER. Yep.
Awesome. You can follow us at Momcult Podcast and themomcult.com or wherever you get your podcasts so you can listen.
And thanks for helping us wrap up another season, and we'll see you guys back for season 4.
Oh, we were supposed to give him a cliffhanger. Oh. I didn't think of one. Is there one?
I don't know.
Well, here's one.
Uh-oh.
I was going to tell you guys later, but I think I lost the first 15 minutes of this, so we might be redoing the intros.
Okay.
Oh.
Not right now.
All right.
Cool. So that's good.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see where
we'll find out.
Stay tuned. Mm-hmm.
That's the cliffhanger, is that
I've got
you
one.
might never get to hear the beginning of this episode.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
All right, see you guys later.